So, to continue with the topic of inequality and exclusion, now we are going to discuss about the sociological theories which are related to the social exclusion. Sociological theories related to the exclusion, because this are important in the context of exam. They may ask you few theories that are related to the inequality that is there in the sociology. So, first theory that is related to the inequality is functional theory. And the second one is conflict theory. So, these are the two important theories in sociology also, not in relation to the inequality, but also in relation to the general sociological understanding of the society. So, functional theory basically it is also there. The other name of functional theory is structural functionalism. It is known as functionalism, structural functionalism, or functional theory. Basically, this theory looks at society from a very positive perspective. So, whatever social institutions that are present in the society are looked at from a positive angle, from a functional angle, from the functionalist functionalist thinkers. So, for example, various social institutions in the society, for example, caste, judgment system, division of labor, occupational segregation. So, these kind of aspects, and inequality. Our topic is inequality, right? So, all these kind of social phenomena like caste, judgment system, division of labor, occupational segregation, inequality. So, what happens is, so the functional theory takes this as the importance, it has the importance in the society. For example, in the occupational division of labor, in the caste, each caste group will be assigned a functional role. Basically, caste as a social institution is basically on the occupation, right? So, each caste group is doing one occupation. Even the Varna system, the Brahmins are the priests and teachers. The Kshatriyas are the soldiers who protect the frontiers of the kingdom. The Vaishyas are the traders and the business people, and the Shudras are the service castes. So, this segregation itself is based on the occupation. So, if you see the things from a functional perspective, the functional thinker says that it is important to have the stratification in the society. It is important to have the division in the society. It is important to have the bifurcation in the society, without which the functional role will not be possible. Simply speaking, to put it in the most simplest form, functionalism simply means the functionalist thinker says that society is like an organism. Each part of the organism is trying to do their functional role in the structure of the society. Simple. So, structure functionalism, two levels. This theory will talk about the situation in two levels, structure and function. So, supposingly organism means you are a human body. So, eyes will have its role, the head will have its role, like that. So, simply if this is the society, caste will have its role, religion will have its role, inequality will have its role. So, simply speaking, structure functionalism theory as a theory will look at all the positive angles of the society, all the positive aspects of the society. It will undermine the negative aspects of the society. So, this functional theory also looks at society from a positive angle. So who are the functionalists in the sociology? Emile Durkheim. This can come as a question, please understand. Emile Durkheim, Herbert Spencer. So these people will not talk about the negative aspects of these events. They will only speak about the positive angle. So if at all you are like a surviving human body, eyes will have its role, the feet will have its role, the nose and the mouth will have its role. In a similar way, they will not talk about the negative aspects. So functional theory's simple idea is it will look at the positive angle of the society. So inequality and social exclusion also, they will talk about the positive angle. Simply, for example, in the caste, Dalit groups are socially excluded from the society, not having access to temples, for example, and public places. And the professions that are done by the lower caste, so-called Dalits, in the context of India is carrying the animal carcasses, stitching the shoes, cleaning up the manual scavenging. So these kind of professions are assigned to the most downtrodden sections of the society in the context of India. So if at all, if you ask a functionalist thinker to understand this phenomena of caste and the plight of Dalits, they may see it as a normal thing only, as one example of division of work. Supposingly Brahmin is taking up some work and performing it, the teaching and the priests. Similarly, Dalits are taking up one work and finishing it, and they are assigned that work. They will only look at it from a positive aspect, because so many caste groups are there and each caste group is doing a particular work. Society is functioning in an orderly fashion. Society is able to function in that way, is the idea of the structure functionalists. So structure functionalists will look at only the positive aspects. The best example is Judge-Money system. In the Judge-Money system, there are two agents in the Judge-Money system. The first agent is Yajman or Judgman. The second agent is the worker or the Cummins. So each caste group person will render their services to the Judgman or the landlord of a particular village, to be very simple. So this system is very inhuman, because they are only paid in kind, or they may not be paid also. Supposingly the service caste group like the barbers and the washermen, they may not pay in cash in their lifetime. Or the bonded laborer, for example, if a bonded laborer is employed with the judgeman in the Judge-Money system, they may not pay the wages throughout their life. So this kind of unequal social institutions are also seen in a positive light, as only simply division of labor is the idea of the functionalist theory. So functionalism means it will talk about society as a group of social institutions within which all the social institutions are trying to perform their role simply and making the society survive in that orderly fashion. As simple as that. So what are the criticisms of the structure functionalist theory? The criticism of structure functionalist theory is that it will not look at the negative aspects of the society. It will only support the status quo. It is not an active proponent of change. So that is why, because of the criticism on the functionalist theory, there arose a place for the new theory, that is the conflict theory. So conflict theory, the proponent of conflict theory is Karl Marx. The most famous philosopher, social scientist, economist, sociologist, Karl Marx is the founder or proponent of conflict theory. So, what Karl Marx believes? Karl Marx strongly believes that all relations are economic relations, all relations are class relations, and society is always in a perpetual conflict over the resources is the idea of conflict theory. And the conflict, the name came from, he says there is a conflict always between the two classes in the society. Those two classes, for example, in the capitalist society or the industrial society is bourgeoisie, bourgeoisie and the proletariat, bourgeoisie and the proletariat, master and slave, master and slave, landlord and serf, landlord and serf. So, like this he says society is always bifurcated into two classes, and these two class people will fight for the resources. For example, the proletariat will try to understand, they will get the class consciousness, and what they will do is they will overthrow the bourgeoisie, when they understood that their labor is plundered. They are the bourgeoisie, the proletariat or the workers, simply the workers. And Karl Marx also talks about two classes in the form of rulers and the ruled. So, whenever this ruled, the common people understand that they are plundered, their labor is plundered, they are looted by the ruled class, they will get a consciousness, class consciousness, and each of them will try to overthrow the ruler. In this way, if you see, the rulers and the ruled, bourgeoisie, proletariat, landlord, serfs, master, slave, and there is also one more term, that is haves and have-nots. Haves and have-nots. So, Karl Marx or the conflict perspective thinking is simply that there are always two classes, and the fight between two classes is the society's nature. So, this type of looking at society is known as class struggle perspective, class struggle. So, class ane padanni, the person who have used the class for the first time is, in the context of economic sense, is Karl Marx. So, conflict theory is a staunch proponent of the revolution, in the form of dictatorship of the proletariat. He will explain the industrial society. In each epoch of the society, there is this perpetual conflict between the classes. So, conflict theory is completely different from the functional theory. So, functional theory is only looking at the positive aspects of the society. It is looking at the functional role of that particular social phenomena. Supposingly, there is a social phenomena of division of labor. Division of labor means division of work. So, division of work happened among the various caste groups in the Indian caste system based on their birth. So, if at all you ask a functionalist about this particular issue, they will look at it from a positive perspective. But conflict perspective will look at it from a very different angle, says that there is this subjugated class who are getting subjugated from the ruled community, the ruler community. So, they have to fight for their rights. So, all the concepts of human rights, Dalit rights, the women's rights comes from the conflict perspective. Fighting for your right is a class struggle. So, this conflict perspective is the proponent of clearly the revolution. So, these are the sociological theories related to the inequality and exclusion. And if you talk about the perspective which is relevant to, these are the international, I mean western concepts of functional and conflict theory. In the Indian context, we have a perspective that is called as subaltern perspective or subaltern theory. Subaltern theory, who are the people who are talk about this subaltern theory about the inequality? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. We have Mahatma Jyotiba Phule, Savitribai Phule also, and Periyar Narayana Guru. All these people to get their theory, I mean they never said that we are subaltern perspective. In the sociological sense, their writings, their work, their mode of thinking are put into one framework. That framework is subaltern perspective. So this framework is completely different from these western notions, and this framework talks about the social, cultural, political and economic inequality faced by the downtrodden communities like SCs, STs and OBCs in the context of Hindu society. So Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is one of the most important thinker in the subaltern theory or subaltern perspective. So here it is only purely economical. What is the difference between conflict and subaltern here? The conflict theory is purely economical in nature. They will talk about the economic angle, but the subaltern theory not only talks about economic angle but also the social and cultural angle. So discrimination is not only economical but socio-cultural, political, economical. Pestle, we call it pestle. As a student of competitive exams, you have to understand this pestle. So political, P and political, economical, social, technological, environmental, legal. We also have cultural. So these many types of discrimination are faced by the few communities in the context of any society, and for that matter Indian society is also producing many types of inequalities. So what is the inequality? Social exclusion, basically social exclusion as a concept. Social exclusion is a concept, as a concept is simply denial of opportunities. Supposingly a person is very good at a particular sport, but he got denied with the opportunity because he is from a particular community or particular religion or from a particular geographical area. It is called a social exclusion. You are not allowed to enter into that group or that particular excluded group, privileged group. You are excluded, stopped, put away, denied opportunity. Simple. Exclusion. Just read the term exclusion, excluding you. Supposingly a bus is going, a bus name is development. All the communities are sat in the bus. One particular community or few of the communities want to get into the wagon or the development bus, but you are not included in that bus because you are particular community. Simple. Take the example of Mahatma Gandhi's throwing out from the train in South Africa. He is a brown or a black, so the Western community excluded him based on his race. Similarly, the social exclusion here in our example, the development bus, is because you are Dalit or a OBC or a minority or any other community which is not socially privileged. So you are excluded from entering into that bus. Simple. This bus example is a very simple example to you to understand. So social exclusion simply means denial of opportunities. Denial of opportunities in all the spheres: social sphere, economic sphere, political sphere, cultural sphere. Social exclusion in entering the temple. Temple entry. Temple entry in the historical perspective for the Dalits, temple entry of Shabarimala, simple. Shabarimala temple lo women ki entry ledu. Gender discrimination, gender exclusion, gender based exclusion, gender based social exclusion. See, you mean all the Hindu persons want to enter into a temple even if it is a woman, but Shabarimala temple there is no entry for women. So these women's right movements and the activists fought very hard, and they got the right from the court to enter into the temple of Shabarimala. Now it is permitted for the women also to enter into the Shabarimala temple. Recently this question was asked in the Andhra Pradesh Group 2 exam, the Shabarimala temple entry. So exclusion of few communities, denying the opportunity. Temple entry is an opportunity or the right of the Hindus. Gender based exclusion questioned in the court. I mean, court ordered them to give the permission to enter into the temple. So social exclusion simply means the denial of opportunities. And social exclusion is also related to unequal distribution of wealth. Unequal distribution of wealth, goods and services. Goods and services. And few communities will have opportunities, rewards and punishments. Opportunities, rewards and punishments. Punishment, for example, recently you might have seen in the newspaper that a Dalit bridegroom has come to the marriage on a horse in Rajasthan. He is a well educated and an employee, but he was thrashed by the upper caste communities in that village because he is socially excluded to ride the horse for the marriage. It is only the privilege, the reward for the upper caste. You will see this in many movies also, and in the real life situations also. Some few communities are socially excluded in doing some few things. So this is the best example, that horse example. So opportunities, rewards and punishments is based on the caste and also the groups that they belong to. So social exclusion is denial of opportunities, rewards and punishments. For example, in the simple societies, there is hierarchy based on authority. Simply hierarchy is based on the authority. You go back to the Max Weber's concept of authority. Three types of authority. Rational legal authority, traditional authority, and charismatic authority. So this rational legal authority is backed by the law, backed by the court. Supposingly there will be hierarchy in a government administrative system. Top lo DGP untadu, least lo home guard untadu. That is a hierarchy. It is rational and legal. There you cannot question, because everyone is open to become a IPS officer. So merit is open. But gradation of the society, Brahmin to Dalit, there is no equality of opportunity. So definitely questioned. So simple societies, hierarchy is present, but hierarchy is based on the rational legal authority of Max Weber. And in the tribal societies, the Nayakas and the head of the tribal societies will have some special privileges, but their lifestyle is always related to the common living. Lifestyle is not different from the other group. Whenever there is a need of protection and all, this tribal chieftains will do their job. So right from the basic societies like simple societies and tribal societies to today's most modern societies, hierarchy is there in the societies. So simply social exclusion is as a phenomena is present, but at the various levels. So social exclusion is also inequality of conditions, inequality of conditions like income, wealth and goods. Income, wealth and goods. Two types, inequality of condition and inequality of opportunities. Inequality of opportunities. So in the inequality of opportunities, we have inequality of life chances. Inequality of life chances, level of education, health, and treatment in the criminal justice system. Treatment in the criminal justice system. So social exclusion and inequality in the level of education. If you see the dropout rates of the schools, majority of them will be from the downtrodden communities. Why? Because they are socially excluded. And level of health, early deaths, premature deaths are always from the backward communities and downtrodden communities. And treatment in the criminal justice system. A police person may treat a prestigious group person in a different way and a poor person in a different way, a backward community person in a different way. You might have seen this movie called Jai Bhim, the Tamil movie. In that, for smallest of the offences, they will make lot of lockup deaths. These kind of cases are also there in the mainstream, in regular society also, not only in the movies. So this social exclusion is seen in the lack of opportunities, the life chances, level of education, level of health and criminal justice system. So why we are looking at these aspects? Because a question will come like this: in which of the following aspects social exclusion and inequality can be seen? Life chances, level of education, level of health status and treatment in the criminal justice system. All of the above. So all of the above. Please look for the questions in the discussion in the class. We are not discussing just all the points for a general reading. We are preparing this for the exam. So questions will come in a very tough nature this time. The 2016 Group 2 paper of Telangana exam, Group 2 exam, there are many direct questions, easy questions. That way people were able to score 120, 130 marks in the papers. But this time questions will not be like that. 2016 is gone, now 2024, 8 years. If you see the recently concluded 2 times Group 1 exam, prelims exam and also the Group 4 exam, see the level of the questions. No direct questions. Every question is considered the following statements. Every question is statement based. So you need to look at in the society paper specifically. We are having topics like this: middle class, the social exclusion and inclusion, the unity and diversity. These concepts are more of sociological. These concepts more of understanding the concept. For example, El Nino, La Nina, articles in the polity, GDP and GNP, national income in the economy. These things you generally get attached to them very easily. They are very tangible. Tangible means you can, supposingly the question is asked on the parliament, you can imagine the parliament. But here social exclusion as a concept is beyond a general person's imagination. So in what aspects that happens, in what areas that happens. So we have to go with the sociological sense. That is why there is a thinker called C. Wright Mills in sociology who says, to do sociology it is compulsory to have sociological imagination. C. Wright Mills, you may also get a question like this: which of the following sociological thinkers have given the concept of sociological imagination? C.W. Mills, C. Wright Mills. So you have to imagine and put things in order. So life chances, like lack of education, health status and treatment in the criminal justice system are the indicators of social exclusion and inequality. Most important. Okay. And if you see the factors of social exclusion, they are geographical, citizenship based also, citizenship based, and social, economical and cultural. Why citizenship based? Supposingly our people are shot down in the United States of America. Many a times our people are shot down in Australia. They are killed simply because the local people will feel that these people are taking away their opportunities. They are eating away their opportunities. So there are somewhere a citizenship based issues. And within the country also, in India also, many a times Biharis were attacked in Mumbai. Raj Thakre's party, Maharashtra Navanirman Sena, MNS, many times comes in the newspaper for doing this kind of activities. And many a times we see that northeastern people are sometimes attacked in the cities like Bengaluru, wherein non-locals are more. The locals will feel that non-locals are actually spreading more in Bengaluru. They say Bengaluru is for only Karnataka, Kannadigas. So these kind of citizenship based issue is completely national level, international level, but national level also regional issues. People from one state to the other state. So citizenship based issues, for example, Article 21 and 19, Article 19, freedom of speech is not available to the foreigners, it is only available to the citizens of India. Becoming the President of India or the Prime Minister or any other contesting to any of the political bodies, the first criteria is must be a citizen of India. So simple. If at all you go to a Western country, a foreign country also, you need to be part of that particular society. So citizenship based of inequality and social exclusion is also there in the context of this concept of exclusion and social inequality. So social inequality, economic inequality, political inequality, technological inequality, cultural inequality, and social exclusion. Social exclusion is also a very important part. So Amartya Sen is also a very important thinker for us, who has talked about social exclusion in India. Amartya Sen, remember the name. And theories: functionalist theory, conflict theory, the subaltern theory. 3 theories related to the social exclusion. So what the government will do to look at the social, to curb the problems of social exclusion, they will make the inclusive policies. That is why if you see in the government, inclusive development, inclusive policies, inclusive schemes. So inclusive schemes means what? For example, Nai Roshni scheme, or Swasthya e-portal scheme, Swasthya e-portal. So this Swasthya e-portal is for tribals, or EMRS, Ekalavya Model Residential Schools scheme for tribals, Nai Roshni scheme for minority women. So why these schemes are put in place? For inclusion of Muslim women also in the development, for inclusion of tribals also in the development. For example, Mahatma Jyotiba Phule National Overseas Fellowship Scheme. So the government has understood that the downtrodden communities are not able to go to a foreign country and get educated. They are socially excluded there because of their economic status. So the government had made an inclusive policy, please understand this term, inclusive policy, to make them go to the abroad for education with the help of the government side. So like this, always the idea of the government is to foster the inclusive development, inclusive growth, inclusive development, inclusive social justice. These kind of terms are always used by the governments, not only in the parliament but also in the government documents, in the public policies, in the schemes. Whenever the government is making any policy, for example, national education, new education policy 2020, so in that they will say inclusive educational development of the backward communities. They will make few of the provisions for the inclusive development of the backward communities. The Mandal Commission and Kaka Kelkar Commission of the OBCs, they have understood that the OBCs are very much backward in the government employment, central government employment. That is why they have given 27% of reservation for the OBCs in the central government jobs. So, socially excluded, making an inclusive policy. One group is socially excluded from something, making a socially inclusive policy. The women are excluded from the political participation, making the inclusive policy of reservation, 33% of reservation for the women. The Dalits are socially excluded from the jobs, reservations for them. So, like this, government always trying to, if you remember that scale that we have discussed just before, the equality inequality scale, all the successive governments are trying to provide the inclusive opportunities for these backward communities. For example, the labor force participation ratio LFPR of women is only 40% in the context of India, 46%. So, what happened? The government has understood this problem, and many state governments have giving free bus schemes. Telangana also, now we have the free bus scheme given by the Congress-led government. So, this program is aimed at inclusion of women into the workforce. It will help the women to participate in the workforce. So, historically, women are socially excluded from the mobility. Men have the highest mobility. Mobility means the movement from one place to the other. The mobility is very less and backward for the women. So, now this issue is taken as a priority by the various government. I mean, Telangana is not the first government to provide this. These kind of schemes are very much there in the Western countries from the last 50 years. So, taking a inspiration from these kind of schemes, they are providing opportunities for women to get socially inclusion. So, overseas education only few communities are affording. So, government made a overseas education policy. Politically, some few communities are not having participation. So, government made inclusion policy. So, like this, every time there is a level of exclusion of few communities or few groups, these communities are given, communities and also sometimes gender. Accessibility is given, socially inclusion is given. The idea of egalitarianism is put forward by the public policies, by the governments with this kind of schemes. There is a program called Dekho Apna Desh. So, the tribal groups, the tribal communities people, they will always remain to their area, tribal hamlets. So, government has understood this and want to support these people to look at various tourist spots around the world or around the country. So, they have started a program called Dekho Apna Desh. So, every time one group is socially excluded, not given the equality of opportunity because of the different social positions and unequal distribution of wealth and backwardness and suffering, subjugation, economic inequality, government is trying to make a program or a scheme for that particular communities. For example, status of health is not equal to all the communities. Few communities or few groups of people, the rich class, can afford multi-speciality health care. but other groups are not able to get the basic health care. So to provide basic health care to these groups, government has started various schemes like Aarogyasri scheme, Ayushman Bharat scheme in the context of India, Pradhan Mantri Ayushman Bharat scheme, to give the health access to the socially excluded group. For example, women are not economically empowered in Indian society historically. So to provide economic empowerment and socially including these communities, government has started Jandan account scheme, Jandan accounts. So Jandan, Aadhaar, Mobile, Trinity, JAM Trinity antam. Jandan accounts, Aadhaar connection and mobile connection, integrating the beneficiary code to the mobile. So supposingly a woman is working in Manrega scheme, her money is directly transferred into the Jandan account of her, and she will get a mobile message. Or sometimes, many of times, these women are part of the self-help groups, small scale savings schemes, participation. So what happens? They are socially included in the economic empowerment. So you have to, as a student of the competitive exam, you have to understand the reason behind the examiners keeping one particular concept in the syllabus. So the syllabus in this inclusion and inequality and social exclusion. So you may talk about this for hours together. Only on caste discrimination and caste social exclusion, you can take a whole day to discuss about it at a tea shop or a random discussion with your friend or any teacher. But we are not here for that. We are here to write exam based on these topics. So supposingly he has given a concept of inclusion, social exclusion and inequality, he may ask the reasons for the inequality, the features of the inequality, the sociological theories on the social exclusion, and what are the various aspects that are related to the exclusion, and what are the various schemes that are helping to foster the development of that particular sections. Supposingly there was this all women bank started by Bharatiya Mahila Bank, BMB, started by State Bank of India to provide the access of banking to the women. Later it got submerged again with the SBI, that's a different story, but the idea is, now you see special trains for women, and supposingly you may see this Jandan accounts for women, and for examples like PMG Disha scheme for digital literacy of the rural people, and schemes like Pura providing urban amenities in the rural areas to stop the migration to the cities. So all the socially excluded groups, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, for scheduled caste also, it is noted that they are very less in the higher education. So the government has started a scheme called Rajiv Gandhi National Fellowship Scheme to include the scheduled caste communities and scheduled tribe communities in the higher education, like the studies of PG and MPhil and PhD, and overseas schemes as we have already discussed. So the communities like scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, other backward classes like Kaka Kelkar and Justice Rohini report and Mandal Commission, and of late we are seeing that the government is trying to conduct OBC census, caste census in many states. Many states are now doing acts to make the caste census. So which caste group is more in number and what is their social inclusion levels. So in future they may get more opportunities. So denial of opportunities, simply denial of opportunities will not be there anymore if you do the caste census, and you will get the number of that particular community and what are the opportunities they are accessing. Supposingly a particular community is only 1 or 2%, but accessing more than 70% of the resources. So this can be questioned in the future. So, all these issues of social exclusion for the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, other backward classes, minorities, like we have talked about the Sachar Commission, women, disabled, aged, transgenders also. So, these communities or these groups, these socially excluded groups, they are made to understand their consciousness, the class consciousness, the group consciousness, and the government, all the successive governments are trying to make policies for the inclusion, social inclusion. So, to go back to our the beginning concept of why society is providing inequality, producing the inequalities. So, societies are not equal by nature, societies are stratified always, they are stratified, graded, gradation. So, stratas. So, societies are not equal like this, they are not homogeneous, they are heterogeneous, they are vertical, not horizontal. So, vertically, maybe it is caste, maybe it is class, maybe it is gender or religion. So, there will be disparities in the society. So, this vertical gradation is there in the society. To bring that vertical to the horizontal, government makes this inclusive policies all the time. So, inclusive policies is the bridge, a bridge that will fill the gap between the socially excluded groups and the socially privileged groups. So, social inclusive policy is the only remedy to stop the social exclusion faced by the communities historically. So, as an exam, from the exam perspective, you have to understand the reasons for the inequality, especially in the Indian context, various types of inequalities like caste, judge money system, division of labor, occupational segregation and inequalities, various theories like functional theory, conflict theory and subaltern theory, and factors of the inequality and social exclusion, geographical, citizenship based, social, economic, cultural, and the definition of social exclusion in the form of denial of opportunities, and the types of inequality, that is inequality of conditioning and inequality of resources and opportunities, status of health, status of education and treatment in the criminal justice system, etc. So, this is how you look at this concept, and you may get questions in this concept from the theories, or you may also get questions in this particular concept from the various social exclusion, social inclusion schemes of the governments. So, that is why specifically I am trying to give one example on each community and the various social exclusion, social inclusive schemes of the government of each community. So, as a student you have to look at more other schemes of that particular community to make them socially included. To make them socially included, what are the other types of schemes done by the government? So, if you look at this concept in that angle, you will be getting definitely that one or two questions coming from the each topic here. Thank you.